We've got an update on Roman Reigns' WWE Premium Live Event status. He is a former WWE personality, AEW bound. And we've got an update on AEW Fight Forever. Find out what it is in a bit. Right, so there's been a lot of speculation recently. We were reporting yesterday on it. Roman Reigns has been pulled from Hell in a Cell. Well, not pulled, he's just not working.
He's just not doing it.
So
yeah.
it's led to a lot of conversations regarding Roman Reigns' current status. You do forget that he's been in the company now on the main roster for 10 years.
10 years this November.
That's a hell of a run. And so we are really getting to the point where Roman moves into the second phase of a lot of WWE stars' career trajectories, which is that they tend to, have one foot in.
You get a little bit of time off.
Getting a bit of a break for your 10 years of hell.
It's well done. You've done 10 years, tenure.
Or if you're John Cena or The Rock, or I'm sure Roman Reigns, it's like, well, 2 days a week, I've got to be in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, I'm going to be wrestling.
It does scream movie star, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just the look of him.
But yeah, it's all been a little bit up in the air. But apparently, according to Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, there's an update regarding more details about the deal. So apparently, with it originally being reported that Reigns was only going to be at 6 major premium live events this year, that's now been squashed. Apparently, it's going to be 8 WWE premium live stadium shows, including the Saudi Arabia shows.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more than we were expecting based on the original report. I think... Well, that's a treat for
Delicious.
you guys. It's a bit more than the previous report, and I think it's a wise choice having him on the bigger shows. If you're having stadium shows, you kind of need your top star and world or Uwu championship.
Uwu. It fits though. It fits perfectly with his character. Roman hasn't got time to be hanging around here. He's held the belt for so long that he knows nobody can beat him.
Yeah, that's
Why is
fair.
he going to bother showing up? Because the next phase is to turn him a little bit into Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, make him the unbeatable boss.
That's how you get people to hate him again.
Who is going to get the belt from him? Yeah, you get people to hate him by just not showing up to work.
This is it, right? Moving across the world now to some very serious news coming out of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You've probably heard a lot of talk, a lot of conjecture surrounding Kota Ibushi and his ongoing situation with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Public situation.
Yeah, so he's often regarded as one of the most physically talented wrestlers of all time, but he may not be long for New Japan because despite being one of New Japan's biggest draws, because he went on a Twitter tirade that included claims of everything from Yakuza involvement to sexual harassment. It should be noted that he's not claiming any of this has happened to him, but he has his own deep issues with the company right now, and he's talking about going public to the press in Japan to expose nasty details of the company and wants his release. He even referred to the company at one point as a black company, which in Japanese kind of parlance
it kind of means antisocial, right? And
it just sort of means it's a bad company, but he dropped the symbols for antisocial organization, which is essentially Yakuza. But yeah, he apparently primarily has issues publicly with Kikuchi. Now, we don't know if this is Tsuyoshi Kikuchi, who's a former All Japan Noah star. He only retired recently, so it'd be weird that he was a staffer. Kikuchi is a staffer under Gedo. He's referred to as the matchmaker by Ibushi, but it's not quite clear what his exact defined role is. But he was posting a private Twitter back and forth where he was talking to him about wanting to quit the promotion and about the company president, Takami Obari, who he didn't mention in his tweets, but he's apparently very upset with, and he's felt that the company has taken advantage of him. This is all kind of to do with Ibushi's injury status.
So he's been injured for quite a bit, and they wanted to bring him back a bit early from that injury. So I can understand a bit of frustration on that side of him. Yeah,
and I think it's like more, well, I've worked before when I maybe shouldn't have, and now I'm ready to go. I'm not being allowed to work and that sort of thing. It's all a bit back and forth. Gedo has apparently been trying to play peacemaker. Gedo is the booker over in New Japan. He's trying to get everybody back on the same page. Ibushi's been saying, though, that based on what he said publicly, he doesn't think he can go back. And this is where it's sort of... it's very serious because Japanese press aren't quite as regulated as press are in the rest of the world. And they can, there's often a lot of juicy dirt and gossip thrown around with very little worry about legal ramifications, and primarily mentioning Yakuza groups or any, organized crime outfit. That cost Pro Wrestling Noah its TV deal. It cut its legs out from underneath it. That's happened in the past. It's happened with MMA Corporation. I mean, it's happened the world over with just general organized crime. But in Japan, it's very serious. They have a lot of laws about that stuff. And so it could mean very, very, very bad things for New Japan moving forward if there's any truth to this and if any more of it comes out. More on WWE now. NXT's Cora Jade has been receiving a bit of a push recently. She's been linked to Natalya. Natalya's last show in NXT was the 10th of May show. And that was the whole angle bringing her up and the story of Cora Jade.
She grew up as a big Natalya fan, and Natalya's come in and gone,
there was like a Twitter exchange with them like posing when Cora Jade was younger and stuff. But apparently, according to the Observer, WWE want to push Cora Jade because she will draw potentially younger boys and men to the product. It was apparently all done to build to a match, and now the match has been done, and Natalya has endorsed her. So it solidifies Cora Jade as a challenger.
She's a solid start in NXT.
Apparently, a driving factor is they want to try and attract a certain demographic. Which is, it feels very backward to look at things like that.
Yeah, it's very 15, 20 years ago mindset. And obviously there was a report weeks ago that WWE wanted to sexify NXT. And I guess this is them putting that into action. But I get she's a great talent.
They talk in very general terms, though. Like the TV world over, you talk in very, very general terms when it comes to, we need to attract this demographic, and it's all very. It does just feel a bit like, but at least she's been endorsed now, Natalya, and it's looking good for Cora Jade moving forward. So that's the bigger takeaway. I'd say.
Understandably, her character would appeal to a younger demographic. Yeah, it's for sure. It's skater and pop punk, if that's the side of things they're going on, then absolutely
it's going to draw just a lot of alternative people to the product in general.
Absolutely.
But keeping it with sort of WWE, but not with WWE at all. Renee Paquette, the former Renee Young. She was asked during an interview with Steve Fall of NBC Sports Boston about potentially joining AEW. Which is something that she now seems quite open to.
She does seem a bit open to.
What did she say, Fraser?
She was like, if you think of the exact same thing in WWE, there's a thing that I don't really know. What would I do? I don't want to do commentary. I don't want to go backstage and do backstage interviews. So I think, again, it would have to be something different, something that I felt like I was using my skills in the best way, and it's trying to find that sweet spot. I love doing backstage interviews, but I've done that. I've done it for so long that I need to find out what that other thing is. So she says, it's a cool sit-down interview or, an expansion of something like sessions where I'd be able to talk to talent and do some real great personality profiles, stuff like that. She goes on to say, you look at things in AEW and there's obviously, her husband's there.
Yeah.
I still have a ton, she says she still has a ton of friends there. And she's there more often than WWE, she says. So she could be getting involved in AEW, wanting to take her Sessions brand. Obviously, she's got her podcast, a very popular podcast,
very popular,
in which she'll chat to basically any talent. She's kind of got no...
Yeah,
there's no rules about who goes on
rules
that.
Or restrictions.
She said WWE talent, she said AEW talent. So maybe we see some sit-down interviews in AEW with her. I think she'd be really great to fill that old school JR type sit-down interview.
I think that AEW would be clapping their hands. It's for even the chance to have Renee involved for even a small run of time. So I think that maybe we might see her branch off into something more independent. But I think if that's going to happen, it might be that one of the brands gets slightly bigger and then she ends up doing something else in a different manner for AEW. But I'd be excited to see. But I think the big sit down backstage interviews, maybe like hype interviews, and we can do something new around
hype package
that
sort of thing.
Because I think there's always hype for pay-per-views, obviously, but there's never any sit down hype shows produced in full anymore.
They did the Road 2s quite a lot earlier on and that was quite fun. So maybe as you say, doing something like that to build something. Renee is one of the most talented backstage interviewers and on-screen talents that WWE had in that capacity. She's sort of transcended her role
Yeah.
So, go on, Renee.
Yeah,
please
go on.
join.
Do it, Renee. Go on.
Tony,
Go
give
on.
her a call. Give her a call.
On the point of AEW, though, we are finishing things off with a bit of a gameplay update on AEW's Fight Forever game, which is going to be coming out at some point soon.
This fall, as the Americans like to say for games.
So apparently, it's been reported fairly recently, AEW's been having some behind-the-scenes issues with their upcoming console game, AEW Fight Forever. The game is set to be released later this year, but it's been noted that fans should go into the game expecting limitations. Now, that's not something you really ever want to... You don't want to be reading. Sports Gamers Online have reported that one such feature that will be limited is the game's creation suite, with the reports saying the limitations are going to be felt in other areas of the suite, which can be viewed as either a good or bad thing, depending on how you look at it. SGO was told that movesets in general will be limited, akin to an early 2000s wrestling game, which, fine, there was still about 20, 30 moves and a couple of signatures.
Yeah, it's just, as soon as I read that, I was just like, oh...
I want the exact punches he throws.
Yeah, exactly. I want them to animate every single frame of it. But no, it's early 2000s game, so we're talking No Mercy, Here Comes the Pain.
Yeah. Well, apparently the customization options for wrestlers will leave people wishing they had more too. The music in the game, the report notes, AEW is known for a few wrestlers having licensed tracks as their entrance music, most notably Jungle Boy. And there's a reason that they're showing wrestlers with themes created specifically for AEW in their previews. Sources have said that there'll be licensed tracks, but not everybody with a licensed theme is expected to have theirs. The decision with music is strictly budgetary due to the game already being over budget as is. Now,
I really want Tarzan Boy.
Yeah.
Jungle Boy won't be the same in the game without it.
I think this is probably part of the reason why WWE maybe stopped using it. The cost of doing it alone for TV is ridiculous, but when you come to things like video games, like you have to relicense and relicense and relicense, or you have to remove it.
Yeah, you've got to remove the game completely.
Yeah, and then remove the track from the game and re-upload it, or you've got to do some sort of buyout deal where it's like, well, for the life of this game, and that'll be like 100 times the cost. So that's an issue that maybe we should have foreseen them running into. But the biggest takeaway here is going to be Creation Suite, because I was working on YouTube doing video stuff for wrestling when WWE 2K14 or 2K15
Terrible
came out, which was the game with like 13 different things in the customization suite, and that was like hell. That was
it was
unthinkably like mental in terms of the response to it, and it was of course like very, very poor on the game front that way. I don't think it's quite going to be that bad, because nobody like is going to go into making a game without learning from that side of it.
Sure,
but it is the first in the series, so maybe it's something where as we grow, as more and more games are added, we'll see
they'll
more
add to stuff.
Maybe it's something they could DLC in. I don't know.
I mean, they said that they're going to update certain aspects of the game as the game's life continues. I think just something as big as customization features, like create a wrestler, create an entrance, create a moveset, is going to be quite limited. And the one on the entrance point, they've only been showing getting up to the entrance ramp.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to see them go to the ring. The report was also saying that that's the cutoff point for your entrance. So that means no Adam Cole. Boom. Wow. There's no Adam Cole babies.
I don't know. I think we're going to see this game get pushed back. I follow Chris Scullion online. He works at VCG, I think it is.
Yeah.
But he tweeted out when it was announced it was coming out this year. He was like, I'm very surprised to hear that. And a lot of people in the games industry are very, very surprised to hear this.
I mean, we've heard, as you said, they've got like a bit of an issue with Ukes currently. So maybe it's a case of Ukes is like, we want this game out.
Yeah.
Like, let's get this done and dusted and let's move on. But
weird one. But yeah, if there's any more about the AEW game or otherwise, we'll be back with a third video maybe. But if not, have a lovely weekend. Enjoy Eurovision later. Enjoy the FA Cup's final.
Come on, Sam.
I messed up. Double booked. I'm seeing the Divine Comedy tonight, but hopefully it finishes before Eurovision does. So if I get out, I'm going to sprint to the office.
I'm also double booked. So I'm going to be watching on my phone. I'm going to be like, because Sam Ryder, Britain's #1 talent, is going to do it. I think he's going to win. Come on, Sam Ryder.
Neil Poir.